Wonderful, thank you. Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Long Beach. My name is Piba Nee, and I'm glad to serve as your worship associate this morning. UUCLB strives to be a welcoming and inclusive religious community rooted in love, trust, and freedom. We are bound together in a shared covenant, building a religious community guided by respect and sustained by our 8 Unitarian Universalist principles. Another special welcome to those of you who are new or visiting our church this morning for the second or third time. We're glad that you're here. If you are a visitor to our service in person today, we are also glad to welcome you. And if you'd like to identify yourselves, raise your hand and say your name. Darlene Martin and Roger in the back.
Jody and Somali. It's our third time.
Great, welcome, Jody and Somali. Welcome, Ben. Okay, if you are interested in learning more about our church, please stop by the table after the service. One more person. Oh, wonderful. Shannon and what else? Nils. Welcome. Yeah. Every Sunday this month, kids and youth are welcome to join the religious education staff, Amy Pabon and Neka Ahmad, out by the picnic tables for fun activities and playtime for all areas. Our Rainbow Room is also open for infants and children under 5. As always, children and youth there are fidget toys available at the usher stands for them to play with, and our nursery is open this morning for infants and toddlers through age 4. After the service, if you are watching us on Zoom, please stay on for a virtual coffee hour where you can chat with others in the congregation. For those of you who are on site with us, please feel free to mingle outside for coffee and conversation. Please see your order of service and online weekly announcements for more information about all our programs and activities, but we have a few announcements right now. Lorraine?
Okay, we're trying to wrap up the Florida postcards right now and next week, so there'll be places to turn them in. But in the meanwhile, if some of you have mornings available, on Wednesday morning, we have a nice clubhouse location off campus for us to spend some time and have a coffee hour, conversation, and write all those letters and postcards that you really know they're not due until October, but I want them now. So, and I'll bring new ones if you are so fortunate as to not have any that are undone. So please join us. We have sign-up sheets on both sides, and then we'll send you an email with exact directions, which we didn't really want to publicize in the newsletter. And thank you all.
Good morning. My name is David James, and I'm your chair of your Music and Arts Committee. And I want to tell you about a great show we have coming up for you on Friday evening, August 9th. That's a week from this coming Friday, when political, social, musical satirist Roy Zimmerman returns to Wilder Hall, bringing his biting wit and well-honed songwriting, wickedly skewering current events and those who are creating them. The Bay Area Reporter called him the best musical satirist working today. Joni Mitchell, that Joni Mitchell, said, Roy's lyrics move beyond poetry and achieve perfection. Okay. The LA Times said, Zimmerman displays a lacerating wit and keen awareness of society's foibles that bring to mind a latter-day Tom Lehrer, for those of us old enough to remember Tom Lehrer. And Tom Lehrer said, I congratulate Roy Zimmerman on reintroducing literacy to comedy songs. I don't know if Roy's had time to write any songs about what's happened in our presidential race in the last week, but he's sure to have a lot to say about the current state of things, and it's certain to be an entertaining show. And we'll all get to hear it on Friday, August 9th, 7 o'clock p.m. right here in Wilder Hall. Suggested donation is $25 or pay what you can. I hope to see you all here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Edie Mickey Silver. I'm here representing the Pinewood Car Race. So this year, we're going to have a Pinewood Car Race on Saturday, August 17th. And you can make a car between now, we're having a class, a car building class outside by the Conrad Shed. And it's from the next 3 Sundays. So you still have time to do it. And I want to show the pump that Betty Smirnoff made in her 60s. You can do it. If you're like me and I had Girl Scouts, we never had Pinewood Car Race. So it's your turn to learn and understand how to use tools and enjoy all that and be artistic and make a pump. But if you would like to sponsor a car, this helps us pay so that children do not have to pay fees to get the car kit. You can sponsor a car like this Peace car. Don't we all need more Peace cars racing? Yes. So if you want to do that, there's a sign-up table after the services, and I will be there to take your donations for, there's a lot of different cars, not only the Peace car. So please sign up. Thank you.
Okay, let's take a moment now to greet one another respectfully and warmly.
That's not for me. No, I don't know about that. Maybe. Looks good.
It was down here, so that's okay. If we can start taking our seats. If we can start taking our seats, and you can talk more outside after the service. Thank you. Now I would like to introduce a popular guest speaker and UCLA oncology chaplain, Michael Esselin. He'll explore the dance we do between acceptance and self-compassion. Michael?
Good morning. As a call to worship this morning, I just do want to say it's always such a special joy to come here because this is my hometown and have a lot of memories here, and I faces from very long ago that came today. So it's a special treat to be here. Thank you for welcoming me. As a call to worship, I've chosen this quote by Joseph Campbell from his book, Myths to Live By. But to enjoy the world requires something more than mere good health and spirits. For this world, as we all surely know, is horrendous. All life, said the Buddha, is sorrowful, and so indeed it is. Life consuming life, that is the essence of its being, which is forever a becoming. The world, said the Buddha, is an ever-burning fire, and so it is. And that is what one has to affirm with a yea, a dance, a knowing, solemn, stately dance of the mystic bliss beyond pain. That is at the heart of every mythic rite. While Joseph Campbell notes that all life is sorrowful, he also proclaims that one has to affirm with a yea, a dance of the mystic bliss beyond pain that is at the heart of every mythic rite. Perhaps that would be an aspirational description for what it means to gather here in community. A dance, a mythic rite, as we come together with our joys and sorrows in tow, a willingness to contain all of that with one another in community. So we light our chalice today as a reminder, a source of light, a centerpiece around which our spirits just might engage in that dance. And now, please join me in singing hymn number 126, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing.
Come thou fount of every blessing, tune our hearts to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. While the hope of life's perfection fills our hearts with joy and love, teach us ever to be faithful, may we still thy goodness prove. Come thou fount of every vision, lift our eyes to what may come. See the lion and the young lamb dwell together in thy home. Hear the cries of orphans silent, feel our love glow like the sun. When we all serve one another, then our heaven is begun. Come thou fount of inspiration, turn our lives to higher ways. Lift our gloom and desperation, show the promise of this day. Help us bind ourselves in union, help our hands to love the Lamb. With thine aid, O fount of justice, earth be fair as heaven above.
As a main reading for the day, I've chosen this poem by Dorothy Hunt, and it's called Peace is This Moment Without Judgment. Do you think peace requires an end to war or tigers eating only vegetables? Does peace require an absence from your boss, your spouse, yourself? You think peace will come some other place than here, some other time than now, in some other heart than yours? Peace is this moment without judgment. That is all. This moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. Peace is this moment without thinking that it should be some other way, that you should feel some other thing, that your life should unfold according to your plans. Peace is this moment without judgment, this moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. I invite us to move into a time of silent reflection and meditation. Maybe close your eyes if you feel so comfortable, and get as comfortable as you can in your seat. And let's just breathe a few nice deep breaths together. In and out. As we breathe and release, I invite you to let the words of poet Nikki Giovanni wash over you. To me, she speaks so beautifully to self-compassion in her poem Choices. I'll read it and then we can move into a time of silence. If I can't do what I want to do, then my job is not to do what I don't want to do. It's not the same thing, but it's the best I can do. If I can't have what I want, then my job is to want what I've got and be satisfied that at least there's something more to want. Since I can't go where I need to go, then I must go where the signs point, though always understanding parallel movement isn't lateral. When I can't express what I really feel, I practice feeling what I can express, and none of it is equal, I know. But that's why mankind alone, among the animals, learns to cry. And I invite us to come back.
UUCLB is a community of celebration where our joys are amplified, in a caring community where sorrows are lessened. We take this moment in the service to acknowledge the mutual support of our beloved community. If you would like, you may come forward to share a personal joy or sorrow. Out of mutual respect for the limits of our worship space, please keep your sharing brief and no further announcements. Thank you.
You're the man. Hi, I'm Lisa Moore. Many of you here most likely remember Desiree and Sarah Cannell. They relocated to Texas, and I'm happy to report back in May, Sarah, who is the daughter I never had, graduated from law school from, I believe it was Texas Tech, beautiful university. And I went, had a lovely time, and she will be taking her boards the 30th and the 31st. So keep her in mind, and then she's coming out here to celebrate for a week or two and see old buds. And Desiree's doing very well with her writing workshops and courses and everything. But, and the thing is, Sarah wants to go into criminal law, so watch out.
Hi, I'm Karen Marikas. Some of you may remember a few months ago I mentioned that my mother had died. So this is both a joy and a sorrow. So my mother died at the end of last year. So we finally held a memorial service for her just last week. Due to schedules, we couldn't do it before then. And it was just a very lovely service, and so, brought a lot of closure. So that's my joy.
Hi, I'm Bonnie Coombs. I have both the joy and sorrow wrapped up in one. Friday night, while my caregiver was still in my home, ready to go home, I stepped on my dog accidentally, turned around, and fell and hit the corner of the coffee table. She insisted I go to ER. I had a CAT scan, and it showed that the bump on my head, which was huge, was okay. I didn't have any damage, nothing wrong. So I feel so great and gratified. Thank you.
Hi, I'm asking, this is Joy. I'm going to be asking everyone for their support. Today is the start of the finals of the International Women's Baseball Championship in Canada. And I say this because my niece, who first made the team at age 16 and is now 21, is now there representing Team USA. So let's see if they can get another win, because they did in 2016.
Hello? Okay. Our Sunday offering helps to sustain our congregation alongside the generous pledges and contributions of our members and friends. Every month, a social justice collection is taken to support an organization living our values in the world. Today is the last day for this month's recipient, which is Bien Star. If your offering is unlabeled on your check or on the envelope, it will be going to the special collection. Thank you for your financial support of UUCLB and all that you do to help our church thrive. Our offering will now be received.
There's a whole lot of wisdom out there, particularly in the Eastern traditions, that would suggest that the pursuit of equanimity, acceptance of what is the pathway to inner peace, maybe even to enlightenment. In fact, there's a Zen Buddhist maxim that would say the great way is easy for one with no preferences. Simple, right? Yet, as an oncology chaplain every day, I walk beside folks for whom a diagnosis of cancer is automatic entry into the veritable Olympics of acceptance. And Zen masters be damned, every patient I have walked beside most certainly had their preferences. I would have chosen anything other than this. Stage 4 cancer at age 42, are you kidding me? I can't accept this. I can't accept that it happened to me, that it happened to my family. I want my old life back. Even though resistance to what is, no matter what our circumstances, only solidifies and deepens our suffering, guarantees it, in fact, leaving us stranded miles away from any oasis we would ever call inner peace. At the same time, we live in a culture that absolutely reveres self-reliance and abhors what it sees as self-pity. The thing is that part of us that would characterize our feelings as self-pity is the very same part that would rob us of any kind of self-compassion and in turn acceptance. The two go together in a kind of dance. While I might aspire to equanimity, to acceptance, I'm also encumbered by all too human feelings of despair and sorrow and grief and frustration and anger. What about equanimity for those feelings as well? Daryl is newly diagnosed with a particularly rare and aggressive sarcoma, but at this point is absolutely asymptomatic. He feels just fine. It's kind of crazy making, Michael. I'm only sick because a doctor tells me I am. So I guess I'm just supposed to carry on and live my life as normally as possible, right? Still, he's heard enough from his oncologist and read enough to have a sense of what's coming down the pike, and that leaves him scared, of course. But I don't dare feel those feelings, Michael. If I do, I'll go down a dark hole and I'll never come out. That's a pretty commonly held perception, too. If I feel my feelings, they'll somehow take over and drag me down. What I have found to be true is the exact opposite. When I give my feelings some air, move them out in the sunlight, it can rob them of their power over me. They can loosen their grip from around my throat, and I'm afforded the perspective, the awareness that, oh, they're just feelings. And as the poet Rilke reminds us, no feeling is final. A few years ago, one of the oncologists referred me to Vicky, who was so distressed that the doctor thought she might need a psychiatric evaluation. But in any event, Michael, she's up in the infusion clinic now and she's sobbing, will you go see her? Well, Vicky had been living with a rare lymphoma for about 15 years. And in those 15 years had been on maybe a dozen different drug protocols. Each one worked for a time, and then, as it is the case with so many cancer drugs, each one would stop working, and it was a new protocol. Today was day one of yet another protocol, and Vicky was just cooked, absolutely fried. But by the time I got upstairs to hear her tell it, Michael, really, I'm so blessed. Look, at least my cancer is treatable, and I have great insurance, and I have the best doctor in the world, and I have such a wonderful husband, and I have kids and grandkids and a deep Christian faith. I have a wonderful church community. Really, I'm so blessed. And it was like the longer she talked, the less oxygen there was in the room. As if the rope were getting tighter around her neck because she just couldn't reconcile these all too human feelings of despair and weariness and frustration and resentment with her attachment to her identity as Little Miss Sunshine. What's more, an even more fierce identity to positivity above all else. I mean, look around here, Michael. So many others have it so much worse. Why am I such a crybaby? There's absolutely no self-compassion in that statement. No allowance, no grace to be a human being. As if she were trying to compose a symphony called Vicky, but had decided that only these 4 or 5 notes would be used. Only these sweet high notes of hope and forgiveness and joy and gratitude. There was no room for deep, dark notes of frustration and despair and anger and resentment. It takes all 88 keys on a piano to write a full-bodied symphony. It takes all those sweet high notes, all those deep, dark, low notes, everything in between. A few dark notes in the symphony of Vicky does not make her less of who she is. It makes her more. I see this as a kind of dance between acceptance of what is equanimity and self-compassion. The two move together. I'm reminded of a toy I had when I was a kid, a little gizmo with a trigger on it, and when you pulled the trigger, a card spun around very quickly. On one side of the card might be the image of a bird, on the other side a bird cage. You pull the trigger, it spins around quickly. It looks like the bird's in the cage. Each side of the card is telling the truth for what it is. This is a bird cage, but we only get the complete picture through the movement, the constant dance. What if it's like that between acceptance and self-compassion? The older I get, I tell you, the more depth of meaning I find in the most deceptively simple song lyrics written in very old songs from the American Songbook, written by the masters, the Gershwins, Rodgers and Hart, Cole Porter. Songs I might have even called corny once upon a time. Irving Berlin was one such master. Let's face the music and dance. Before the fiddlers have fled before they ask us to pay the bill, and while we still have a chance, let's face the music and dance. Maybe I have been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, or some other tragedy has befallen me. Maybe it's incumbent upon me to accept it, to face the music, if you will, but not just that, but to dance with it, to dance with all of it, and all the attendant feelings, all the grief, the sorrow, the anger, the resentment, but also the love and the hope that might be down there buried underneath when everything else has been burnt away. Maybe that can be the opening to the great way, that dance. A few years ago, I had a patient, Kelly, who used to come to my weekly spiritual reflection group, and she would often comment, Michael, I hate that word acceptance. I don't accept that I have cancer. To me, that implies that I approve, and I do not approve. I will never approve. I acknowledge that I have cancer, but I don't accept it. I got my own vivid little lesson in acceptance a few years ago. March of 2017, I got to take the most fantastic 2-week solo trip to Nepal and Bhutan. And the second to the last day of my trip was probably one of the most perfect days of my life. Along with my friend, my guide, Saiwang, we hiked up to Tiger Nest Monastery, a magnificent 17th century Buddhist monastery, perilously and improbably hanging off the side of a mountain with this stunning view of the surrounding mountains and the valley below. It's only accessible by foot, and it's quite an arduous climb to get there, not unlike climbing to the top of Yosemite Falls. It's also a point of pilgrimage, sacred pilgrimage for the Bhutanese people. All are expected to make that climb once in their lives, if they can. So Saiwang and I made that climb, and we arrived to the gates of the compound. We took our shoes off, went inside. The first thing I saw was a big orange tabby cat snoozing in the one shaft of sunlight piercing through this narrow slit of a window, right next to a monk tending to an altar. Saiwang showed me around, and we sat down in the great hall, and we just meditated for a time. And then we lit a few butter lamp candles, sending up prayers of healing for loved ones, patients, my mom. With our spirits full to the brim, we descended back down the mountain, talking every step of the way, just about life, about everything. Once we got to the bottom, my driver, Sonab Tabgai, and Saiwang, they surprised me. I got to take an herbal hot stone bath in a wooden tub at the family farm of my driver, Sonab Tabgai. After this delirious soak, I got a nice home-cooked meal with him and his family in Saiwang. Like I say, it was a perfect day. The next day, I was supposed to fly back to Kathmandu, spend the night, catch my series of long flights home to Los Angeles. I got up, pulled the curtains back in my room, couldn't believe my eyes. Whole landscape was blanketed in white. It had been snowing all night. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. And just think, Michael, if that had happened yesterday, you wouldn't have been able to go to Tiger Nest. Aren't you lucky? But then it didn't stop snowing. Uh-oh. What if my flight doesn't leave? What if I miss my flight home? Get a little panicky, scramble around, get ready, get downstairs, see Saiwang. Saiwang, do you think my flight's going to leave? Can we call the airport? What do you think? No, Michael, we cannot call. You must go in person, and I'm sorry to say that it's against the law for me to go in the airport with you, that when I drop you off at the terminal, that will be goodbye. Oh, now I'm starting to panic a little bit. What if my flight's canceled? What if I miss my connecting flight? What am I going to do? How am I going to... My head is going crazy. I had an aisle seat booked on that Air China 380 Airbus for a year. And if I get rescheduled, there's 15 seats across in coach. They're going to put me in the middle. I won't survive. Just stop, Michael. Just breathe. There's nothing you can do about it. I wasn't expecting a pop quiz in Buddhist philosophy at this point in my journey. So just pay attention to what's going on. Oh, look at the kids playing in the snow. They're so happy to have released from school early. We get to the airport. I have this tearful goodbye with Saiwang, which doesn't exactly feel like goodbye because I'm not sure I'm leaving. He tells me he'll wait in the parking lot for an hour to make sure I get off okay. So I go in the air terminal, and it becomes readily apparent there's no electric power here. There are no lights, there are no PA systems, there's no computer screens. There's one teeny woman behind the counter and hundreds of unhappy, frustrated passengers in front of her. Now, I have to say, Bhutan is the most Buddhist culture imaginable. It's not just a religion. It's not a way of life. It is in their DNA. I've never seen anything like it. I get up to the front of the counter in front of this woman finally. She smiles at me so kindly, this teeny little woman. Yes, sir. How may I help you? As if she has all the time in the world, as if she hasn't just been dealing with hundreds of frustrated passengers. I explained to her about my itinerary, and I need to get back to Kathmandu, and I have an aisle seat. She listens kindly and says, well, if the flight is canceled, the airline will have to put you up in another hotel for the night in Paro, but there's a chance that there'll be a flight leaving tomorrow morning that would still get you to Kathmandu in time to get your flights home to Los Angeles. So thank goodness Saiwang was still out in the parking lot. I get to spend a little more time with him. He could drive me to the new hotel. I don't have to deal with shuttle buses and carry my duffel and all that. We get to the hotel, becomes clear there's no electric power there either. There's a blackout all over Paro. There's no lights, no heat, no hot water, no internet, no way to let Scott know I may be late, no way to let work know I might not be back. So it is so cold. I put every article of clothing I brought with me on and got under the covers. Spent the day there just trying to keep my teeth from chattering and practicing my Buddhism to just let it go. There's nothing you can do. This quiz was going on way too long for my money. And then as the afternoon drew on, it grew dark. I realized I've got no way to see in here. There was a candle in the room, but no match. And I certainly wasn't going to use what was left on my cell phone battery for a flashlight, so I trudged through the snow up to the main lodge to see if they had a match. And as I entered, a man who looked kind of official came in, looked like he might be from the airport. Excuse me, sir, are you from the airport? Can you tell me, do you think my flight's going to leave tomorrow morning? Well, of course, sir. Yes, sir. But first tell me, how do you like the hotel? How do I like the hotel? My inner ugly American is starting to wake up. Well, it's cold, and there's no hot water, and there's no light, and there's no internet. I need to communicate with home. I need to get home. Yes, sir, he says. All over Paro. No heat. No hot water. Said with all the kindness and compassion he could muster. It was such a striking display to me, I thought of calling this talk, How Do You Like the Hotel? It's a quality to which I can only aspire. I just don't think I have the genetic code for that. Happily, the next morning, my flight did leave. I sailed past Mount Everest against this sapphire blue sky. Stunning view. I land in Kathmandu. I run with my duffel on my back, run through customs, run through security, run out on the tarmac, run up the gangway, and they close the door right behind me, and I plop into my aisle seat with seconds to spare. Sometimes things work out. My grandma Ann, my mom's mom, was a born worrier. She worried about everything and everybody her entire life. Toward the end of her life, she had a lot of health problems, in and out of the hospital, multiple surgeries. I went to see her after one surgery or another, and I remember they wouldn't let me in the recovery room, but I could talk to her across the threshold. How you doing in there, Gram? I said. I could hear her say, Sonny boy, you get yourself all worked up over these things, and it's just never as bad as you think it's going to be. It took her 83 years of wisdom to come to that. Simple, and yet not so simple, not so easy. To have faith in her capacity to respond, that I have what it takes to face what life throws me, was truly something I carry with me still. A few years later, I got a real exercise in self-compassion. It was January 2nd, 2020, my first day back to work after the New Year holiday. I was driving home from the infusion clinic in Santa Monica, going east on Santa Monica Boulevard. As I crossed Barrington, a woman traveling south ran a cherry red light and smashes into my driver's side door with me on the other side of it, totaling my 13-year-old Prius, a car from which I was hoping to squeeze a few more years, so much so that I had just put $5,000 into it for a new replacement hybrid battery and new tires, a total loss. Happy New Year. So I had to spend money I didn't want to spend to get a replacement used car. And it was nice to have a nicer car, but I'd rather have had the money that it cost me. And about 10, 11 months later, It's Christmas Eve, 2020, the height of the pandemic. Everybody's home in isolation. No vaccines yet. You remember how surreal that was. It's 5:30, Christmas Eve. I hear what sounds like an explosion in front of the house. The whole house shook. Oh my God, what could that be? I ran outside. The whole neighborhood was already out on the street. Some kid running a drug deal gone bad had smashed into my new car with such velocity that he knocked it clear in front of the neighbor's house. No! I screamed like a wild man. I could not accept this. God bless Taylor next door, just the person you want in a situation like this, holds the space of calm, gets the information, takes the pictures, deals with the cops while I'm just melting down. Every 2 seconds he's saying, Michael, it's okay. Michael, it's okay. Quit saying that, Taylor. There's absolutely nothing about this that's okay. God bless Lisa across the street. She came up right behind me and said, you're absolutely right, Michael. There's nothing about this that's okay. Sometimes you just need your feelings affirmed. You know what I mean? But still, I could not accept this reality. I'm someone who has a very low tolerance for injustice, and particularly for what I perceive as spiritual injustice. I mean, look at what I do for a living, for crying out loud. Is it too much to ask that I could have one car totaled, spend money I didn't want to spend to get a replacement car, and keep that car nice for longer than 10 months? Apparently, yes. The answer to that question is always yes. Is it too much to ask? But still, I could not accept this reality. And everyone whom I told about this incident responded as you just might imagine. Well, Michael, just be grateful you weren't in the car. Thank God you're okay. It's just a car. It's only material stuff. It's only money. And the more they said it, the more I wanted to kill people. I knew they were right, of course, but I wasn't remotely close to that perception. It took me a good week to come up with a word to accurately describe how I felt. Forsaken. I felt forsaken, bereft. Somehow the universe, as I'd come to understand it, had broken its contract with me. This was bigger than the car. And because it was holiday time, the insurance company took a good week or 10 days to come tow the wreckage away. So every day I went out to get the mail or to get the paper, I'm confronted with that violence and the injustice of it. And when they finally did come to tow it away, I stunned myself. I just sobbed. Like they were wheeling my dead mother out of the hospital room. And I'm not a car person, remotely. I went in the house and I just cried. I was so embarrassed. Scott was so dear. He just held me. And I said, Scott, you know this is about more than the car, right? It's just, I'm embarrassed. And he just said, I know. I'm a swimmer. I swim every day, religiously, partly for fitness, partly to keep myself sane. During the pandemic, it was really hard to find a place to swim with the gyms closed. And there for a while, I was schlepping out to Glendale because they had a community pool that was open, very restricted hours, very strict contact precautions. Every day I had to scramble to get a reservation to go swim for 45 minutes. After the incident, I drove out to Glendale, I swim. I'm just so upset with myself, disgusted with myself that I can't get past this and let it go. I'm driving home down Forest Lawn Drive past these two enormous cemeteries, Mount Sinai and Forest Lawn, having a little conversation with myself. Look there, Michael, there's hundreds of thousands of dead people up there. They'd give anything to be back in a body and dealing with something as stupid as your car. Doesn't that put this into some perspective? No. And with that, a light bulb went on. If that doesn't jog me loose, this is touching something deeper. A deeper wound, a deeper scab has been ripped off, and it's incumbent upon me to investigate, to be curious, to be mindful, but with compassion, without judging it, without comparing it, and with that awareness, I could start to float a little bit closer towards something we might call self-compassion and acceptance. It can be really hard sometimes to feel feelings we do not want to feel. We want so desperately to be strong, move on, get past it. especially when those feelings aren't exactly congruent with cultural norms and expectations. Oh, somebody bashed your car, poor you. But the feelings aren't going away. And so that's what I've come to believe, is that the way possibly to this great way is through those feelings, to feel them and to dance with them, to dance with all of them. Because, soon we'll be without the moon, humming a different tune. And then there may be teardrops to shed. But while there's moonlight, music, love, romance, let's face the music and dance. So be it.
There may be trouble ahead, but while there's moonlight and music and love and romance, let's face the music and dance before the fiddlers have fled, before they ask us to pay the bill, and while we still have the chance, let's face the music and dance. Soon we'll be without the moon, humming a different tune, and then there may be teardrops to shed. So while there's moonlight and music and love and romance, let's face the music and dance. Let's face the music and dance. Soon you'll be without the moon, humming a different tune, and then there may be teardrops to shed. So while there's moonlight and music and love and romance, let's face the music and dance. Let's face the music and dance. Let's face the music and dance. Let's face the music and dance.
I invite you to get quiet again, maybe close your eyes, and if you feel so comfortable, take the hand of the one next to you or not, and maybe breathe a few nice deep breaths. I invite you to maybe envision the complicated dance that is your own life right now. All the parts we love, that bring us joy, the parts to which we cling, that make us believe life is indeed worth living, as well as the parts we wish weren't there, the parts that are hard to accept. If only this or that would go away or weren't true, then I'd be happy, then I'd be okay. Can we envision those aspects locked in embrace, in a great and wild dance? Might we be fascinated with the dance, entertained by the dance, maybe even fall in love with the dance perhaps even long after the song has ended. So be it. We extinguish the chalice. This concludes our service, but we take that service with us until we meet again. So be it.